Hello, and welcome to Gentle and Clear English. Here, you will have great experiences with real stories in a clear, slow, and educational way about everyday life in America and around the world. So, enjoy, relax, and learn. Marshall Mathers, the rapper the world knows as Eminem, has spent most of his career watching every word, every beat, and every royalty. Long before he ever stood in a courtroom, he rapped about contracts and percentages, warning young artists not to sign away their futures. Now, nearly 3 decades after his Slim Shady debut, his first publishing company, 8 Mile Style, has filed a blockbuster lawsuit against Meta Platforms, the giant that controls Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. In late May 2025, the suit landed in a Tennessee federal court and demanded a jaw-dropping $109 million in statutory damages, an amount calculated by multiplying $150,000, the maximum allowed for willful infringement by 243 separate songs that 8 Mile Style says Meta used without permission. Asterisk, for casual social media users, 243 songs might not seem like much. Instagram's music library looks endless, and Reels roll by in seconds. But those 243 tracks sit at the heart of Eminem's early catalog, the period between 1995 and 2005 when he dropped My Name Is, the real Slim Shady, without Me, and the Oscar-winning Lose Yourself. 8 Mile Style, co-founded by the Bass Brothers, who discovered Eminem, owns the publishing on those songs. That ownership means they must grant or refuse licenses whenever a platform wants the right to let millions of users soundtrack their videos with a Slim Shady hook. According to the complaint, Meta never received that green light. Instead, the company allegedly stored full copies of the songs on its servers and encouraged creators to steal the music through features such as original audio, Reels remix, and stories. Meta has responded with a single terse statement. It already holds licenses with thousands of rights holders and had been negotiating in good faith with 8 Mile Style when the publisher chose to sue. That posture polite on the surface, confident underneath fits Mark Zuckerberg's long record of moving fast, building big, and letting the lawyers sort out the fallout later. Back in 2004, when the then Harvard sophomore launched Facebook from his dorm room, he shrugged off plagiarism accusations from the Winklevoss twins. 2 decades later, he runs a company worth more than $1 trillion. Yet the core critique sounds familiar. Meta builds the playground first and writes the rule book only after someone sues. 8 Mile Style's lawyers argue that Meta didn't merely forget to fill out paperwork. They say the company designed its platform so that unlicensed music would flourish. When a TikTok competitor like Reels relies on snappy background songs, any gap in the catalog can sink user engagement. TikTok solved the problem by cutting sweeping deals with the major labels. Meta did too, but 8 Mile Style isn't a major label. It's an independent publisher that controls just one superstar's catalog. Yet that catalog happens to contain some of the 21st century's most valuable rap songs. The complaint says Meta gambled that a lone publisher could be outmaneuvered or outspent. If a user wanted Lose Yourself in a 15-second workout montage, Reels quietly served up the track, complete with the famous opening guitar stab. Views poured in. Ad dollars followed. Royalties did not. To understand why 8 Mile Style refuses to stay quiet, rewind to another David versus Goliath episode. In 2019, The same company sued Spotify, claiming the streaming giant labeled many. Eminem hits copyright control, a tag normally reserved for songs whose owners can't be found. Spotify streams exploded past 1 billion plays, while pennies trickled to 8 Mile Style. 5 years later, a federal judge ruled that Spotify itself would not owe damages, although the decision left open the possibility that a third-party administrator, Cobalt Music Group, might be liable. 8 Mile Style lost that round but learned 2 lessons. First, the courts move slowly. Second, publicity can shape the settlement table. Today, by suing Meta for a sum that grabs global headlines, the publisher ensures every reporter, investor, and policymaker asks the same question: why hasn't Meta paid Eminem? Eminem, for his part, is not listed as a plaintiff. His team says he was surprised when the suit was filed. That surprise makes sense. He sold his first publishing stake to Cole, fund the raw, risky early albums that propelled him to fame. Publishing firms then handled licensing, while the artist focused on music. But the artist emeritus still has influence, and 8 Mile Style's complaint bluntly calls his songs some of the most valuable in the world. When that kind of language appears in a legal filing, it signals that the plaintiff intends to push for maximum statutory damages and maybe more injunctions, accountings, even profit disgorgement. Statutory damages matter because real-world accounting is messy. To calculate actual losses, auditors would need to comb through billions of Reels plays across 3 apps and several years. Reels exploded after TikTok's rise and became Instagram's growth engine by late 2023. Meta told investors that Reels drove a 40% year-over-year increase in time spent on Instagram. Video views soared into the trillions, but each play lasts 15 to 60 seconds, so advertisers must rely on huge volumes to reach users. One popular motivational montage that pairs a gym clip with the chorus of "Till I Collapse" can rack up 1 million likes in days. Multiply that by thousands of reposts in dozens of countries, and the analytics blur into a haze of big numbers. Statutory damages cut through the haze. 150,000 per work, multiplied by every infringed song. No spreadsheets required. Asterisk. The lawsuit also highlights a friction point in modern music. Most listeners no longer choose a track, press play, and wait 3 minutes. They scroll. Each swipe brings a new soundtrack and a fresh legal question. Does a user's homemade cooking video infringe if it borrows 8 seconds of Stan? U.S. law says yes, unless the platform obtained a sync license, mechanical license, public performance license, and whatever new license lawmakers invent next year. These requirements made sense in the CD era when a song appeared on a single tangible disc. They look absurd in the scroll era when 1 billion clips reuse the same hook by nightfall. Enter Audium, the royalty collection service that Meta approached for help. According to the complaint, Meta asked Audium to secure a license for Eminem songs, but 8 Mile Style says it never authorized Audium to grant permission. The publisher calls that maneuver a shell game. No license was possible. Yet Meta proceeded as if one might materialize later. Critics call the strategy use now, negotiate later. Defenders say it is the only way to run a platform at global scale. Otherwise, every small right shoulder wields a private veto over innovation. The courts will decide which story prevails. History suggests 8 Mile Style is comfortable fighting long wars. Before Spotify, The publisher joined a series of cases that tested how digital downloads should be classified. Were iTunes sales a sale, tiny artist share, or a license, big artist share? In 2010, a different Eminem publisher, FBT Productions, convinced an appeals court that downloads were licenses, effectively doubling the royalty rate. That win reverberated across the industry and changed how labels pay artists for download revenue. 8 Mile Style hopes the Meta suit sparks a similar shift, this time for user-generated video. The timing is strategic. Meta's video pivot reached full speed in 2024 when TikTok faced bans in several countries and U.S. lawmakers mulled forced divestiture. Advertisers diverted budgets to Instagram Reels, and Meta's quarterly revenue hit new highs. By May 2025, Wall Street valued the company near its all-time peak, which means the same statutory damages, $109 million. It might cripple. A smaller firm looks like pocket change for Meta. Real leverage lies not in the money, but in the risk of an injunction that could mute Eminem's music across 3 apps overnight. Users would notice. Influencers would complain. Competing platforms with licenses in place would gain an edge. Meta would feel pressure to settle. Public sentiment also matters. Eminem remains a cultural force. In 2022, he entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and still draws more than 76 million monthly Spotify listeners. Fans remember his crusade against parental advisory stickers, his feuds with pop stars, and his blistering freestyle about Donald Trump. A battle over royalties fits his brand, the underdog fighting a system stacked against creators. Zuckerberg, in contrast, often sits at the defense table privacy hearings, antitrust probes, whistleblower exposes. The optics of a billionaire CEO facing off against a blue-collar. Detroit rappers' catalog favor 8 Mile Style in the court of public opinion. Yet Meta has resources few companies can match, and some legal cover too. Section 512 of the U.S. Digital Millennium Copyright Act grants safe harbor to platforms that promptly remove infringing content upon notice. The catch: plaintiffs say Meta didn't just host user uploads. It supplied the tracks from its own servers, so safe harbor should not apply. Meta will likely argue that any unlicensed copies came from users, not Meta, and that its automated detection tools remove infringing audio at scale. In turn, 8 Mile Style will point to internal documents unearthed during discovery, showing Meta's engineers proactively ingesting full song files to seed the Reels library. Beyond legal wrangling, the case spotlights a philosophical divide. In the traditional model, a broadcaster paid the publisher, then aired the song to a passive audience. In the social media model, every user doubles as a micro-broadcaster. Licensing each of those micro-broadcasts individually is impossible. So platforms sign blanket deals with major publishing collectives like ASCAP, BMI, and the National Music Publishers Association. But independents like 8 Mile Style can fall through the cracks. They may control only a few hundred songs, yet each song can move culture and help an app feel complete. When an independent refuses to sign a standard blanket license, a platform faces a choice: delete the music and risk user backlash, or ingest the tracks and risk a lawsuit. 8 Mile Style chose litigation. A complaint requests a jury because jurors relate to stories, not spreadsheets. Imagine a lawyer playing the opening riff of Lose Yourself in a quiet courtroom, then showing a montage of Instagram fitness clips that use that riff without paying. The argument writes itself. Meta made billions. The songwriter got zero. Meanwhile, Meta's attorneys will invoke the complex maze of modern licensing, point to negotiation emails, and frame the dispute as a contract breakdown, not theft. Observers wonder whether the case will settle quietly. Spotify's saga dragged on for half a decade and ended with a ruling that disappointed 8 Mile Style. But Spotify needed Eminem's catalog to stay attractive to rap fans. Meta needs every genre on Reels because its user base spans the planet. TikTok's library already includes Eminem's songs under a fresh deal with Universal Music Group, signed in early 2025 after a tense negotiating standoff. If Reels alone can't offer the same tracks, creators may jump platforms. That competitive pressure could push Meta toward a quick checkbook solution. Settlement, however, would leave unresolved the broader question of how platforms should pay publishers in the short video era. Lawmakers from Nashville to Brussels are watching. Europe passed the Digital Services Act, imposing stricter content moderation rules. The United States still debates a streaming royalty hike and new mandatory arbitration for mechanical licenses. 8 Mile Style v. Meta may become Exhibit A in hearings that set the next decade's copyright framework. Outside the courtroom, Eminem continues to record, tour, and lately celebrate becoming a grandfather. Asterisk, he has not commented publicly on the Meta suit, but his silence does not equal indifference. In 2017, he surprised fans with a blistering Bet Hip Hop Awards cipher, aimed at then-President Trump, proving he can still seize a news cycle overnight. If he decides to weigh in on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp, headlines will follow, and Meta's public relations team will scramble. Mark Zuckerberg faces choices too. Half his paid daily users are under 30. Many stream the Reels tab for hours. If Reels turns silent on Eminem tracks, they will notice. Zuckerberg already fought expensive legal storms: the Federal Trade Commission's antitrust case, the Cambridge Analytica privacy scandal, the intellectual property fight with Oculus founders, and ongoing scrutiny over AI content. He could view the Eminem suit as just another chip to cash at settlement time, or he could see it as a chance to rebuild bridges with an industry increasingly wary of big tech's power. The court docket suggests motions will fly throughout 2025. First, Meta will likely argue to dismiss parts of the complaint under safe harbor rules. 8 Mile Style will respond with evidence of direct infringement and inducement. Discovery will dig into Meta's internal Slack messages, audio fingerprinting logs, and the contracts it held or lacked with Audium and other intermediaries. Expert witnesses will model damages, lost synchronization fees, diminished catalog value, unjust enrichment. Each side will hire economists, musicologists, and technologists to quantify numbers jurors can grasp. While attorneys draft memos, the larger music world waits. If 8 Mile Style wins big, independent publishers could flood the courts with similar suits. Platforms might tighten upload filters and shrink music libraries until licenses are bulletproof. That shift could hurt small creators who rely on recognizable hooks to grab attention. If Meta prevails, publishers may rush to blanket deals rather than risk protracted litigation. Artists might see royalties drop as collective bargaining replaces one-on-one negotiation. Either way, a verdict or settlement will ripple far beyond one rapper and one platform. Lost in the legal speak is the simple fan experience. Someone, somewhere, will open Instagram tomorrow to share a 30-second clip of a homemade backyard barbecue. They will search for the real Slim Shady, drag the slider to their favorite punchline, and post. If the song is missing, they will shrug and pick another. If it is present, they will never know whether Meta paid a license or rolled the dice. That casual indifference to licensing is the very engine driving this fight. 8 Mile Style wants to make sure someone pays attention and pays up. Remember Napster in 1999? College dorms buzzed with illegal MP3 downloads until Metallic and Dr. Dre sued. That case created moral pressure to pay for music and paved the way for Apple's iTunes Store in 2003. Today's battlefield is not the desktop folder filled with pirated tracks. It is the endless scroll of short videos that splice music into memes. In 2025, one 45-second gym clip with Lose Yourself can achieve what LimeWire once did with a full album spread, a copyrighted work to millions, without a cent reaching the songwriter. 8 Mile Style's lawsuit tries to pause the scroll and ask, are we repeating old mistakes on a new screen? Only the courts can issue a binding answer, yet the public can shape the stakes. If viewers care about artists getting paid, they will support tougher licenses. If they only care about entertainment on tap, platforms will keep feeding content and treating lawsuits as the cost of business. 8 Mile Style v. Meta is, at its core, a referendum on how much a song is worth when it lives inside a swipe. As this saga unfolds, keep your eye on 3 milestones. First, the court's ruling on Meta's safe harbor motion will signal whether the case enters full discovery or heads for early dismissal. Second, watch for any preliminary injunction hearings. If a judge mutes Eminem's catalog on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, that silence will speak louder than thousands of pages of legal briefs. Third, mark the calendar for settlement whispers. *** companies often cut a deal before executives must sit for depositions. A quiet settlement could arrive at any moment overnight, with a press release thanking everyone for their constructive dialogue. Until then, every time you hear "lose yourself" under a cooking tutorial or a skateboard trick, remember the unseen battle behind the beat. A Detroit publisher counts each unauthorized spin. A Silicon Valley giant tallies daily engagement. And somewhere in between, the value of music in the digital snippet age is being argued. Line by line, chord by chord, loop by loop. When the verdict arrives, one side will proclaim victory, the other will vow to appeal, and the scroll will continue. But the outcome will shape how every beat drops on social media tomorrow. Stay tuned.